This call is being recorded.
Welcome to Ask Gwen, everyone. Today with me, I have Greg, and Greg happens to be a fellow podcaster. Greg and I met in person briefly, well, more than briefly, I should say. We stood in a hallway together and chatted it up, and that was back in March at the beginning of COVID. At the beginning of COVID, I was lucky enough to go and be blessed enough to go to a event called Podfest, run by the fabulous Chris Committal, who you've heard speak on this podcast as well. And so Greg and I met through that, but I wanted to interview Greg and figure out what makes him a tick, what's his story, what's the podcast about. So I'm going to let Mr. Greg take it away and share his story.
Yeah, so what makes me tick and what ticks me off, right?
Yes, basically. Yes, basically. What makes
That's awesome.
what makes
You know,
you tick and what takes
uh,
you off, basically.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, what makes me tick is I just have a strong desire to make a difference in the world. I come from a very broken background. I started out the world doing using drugs and alcohol like way before I even knew what I was doing. I was a pre-adolescent drug addict, alcoholic type person. I did all the things that addicts and alcoholics do, and then some. I was in trouble. I was in trouble with the law from an early age. I was in trouble, and one of the tragedies with that being said is I think that for addicts and alcoholics we try to punish them. A lot of times alcoholism and addiction is but a symptom of a underlying pain that we can't deal with. And so as they tried to punish me, it just made me worse and gave me self-hatred, added to my self-hatred and added to my hatred of authority and added to my hatred of the world, because I was already hurt and I was already desperate for help, and it just hurt me worse, and it made me where I didn't want to talk to anyone about what was going on. I was embarrassed, I was ashamed, and I just wanted to drink and drug my pain away. And it took me to a lot of dark places, and so I feel for young people that are starting down that path, and that's how I got involved with Florida Recovery Schools. I'm in almost my 30th year of sobriety, and I've been helping in some form or fashion. I worked for through Celebrate Recovery. I worked with guys getting out of prison for about 10 years, and whenever I heard about the recovery schools, I was like, why isn't this everywhere? Because we're not gonna beat addiction. We're not gonna punish addiction out of people. We have to love them back to health, and if we don't give them an off ramp to healing, it never will work. I mean, you won't send someone to prison to make them better. It just makes them worse. And I know that there has to be a punishment for people's crimes. Don't get me wrong, but if there isn't a way for them to heal afterwards, we just do a terrible injustice to people just by punishing them and then trying to put them back into society.
No, I agree. And for those of you who are listening and want to know more about the Florida Recovery School, just Facebook the page, and I'm involved. Greg isn't involved. I got involved because of Greg. Thank you very much. And
Absolutely.
so Greg basically said to a person named Anna, you need to meet Win. Win is fantastic. And basically, Anna called me and said, do you know this person? Greg? And
This
I'm like,
crazy guy, Greg Wooley.
okay, okay. And I'm like, yeah, I met him once because he has a podcast. And she goes, well, you know what other projects he's putting you on? And I'm like, oh boy. So that's why. That's one of the reasons why I'm moving down to Orlando as well, you guys, because I want to get more and more involved with the recovery high school aspect of it, because I was in education for 13 years, and even though I love education, I feel like helping people and educating them is something that is my calling.
I think just by what you're doing and how you're living is educating and inspiring people to
Well,
step out of their comfort zone.
well, step out of the comfort zone
Yeah.
it may be. And so, Greg, why did you get into podcasting, and why did you get into all this good stuff playing
Well,
behind mic?
well, and some of that I left out is I write poetry. I mean, I write poetry almost pretty much every day, and so I haven't been a real successful podcaster yet. I start in and then I get bumped and I listen to my voice and I say, "Oh my gosh, you sound like a country hillbilly. I don't like the way the way that I sound." And so I've hit a lot of roadblocks, on my journey. But in the end, I think podcasting, and having a presence online, whether it be through your art, through your books, through whatever you're doing, having makes us able to inspire others through our stories, and I think our stories, our life stories of the challenges that we faced and the obstacles overcome are is what humanity needs in general, because we have the ability through our brokenness and through our healing to inspire other people to stand up and mend their brokenness. So I just want to be a mender of the brokenness.
Amend the healing, basically.
Yeah,
You
sure.
just want to be like me, the mend
Sure.
of the healing. And so, Greg, what is your favorite book?
What is my favorite book? Well, and if you look behind me, you can see that there are like books everywhere. And so
Yes,
it should be
well,
more like,
look
what's my
behind me,
favorite?
you guys.
What's
You can
what?
see the books
Right, I know.
everywhere on
What's
my
my
end too.
favorite? Yeah, what's my favorite book of the week should be more like, because I'm a great fan of Audible, and I'm I'm a Kindle junkie, and I'm a used bookstore junkie. That's like one of my favorites, like gold mining. You never know what you're going to find in the used bookstore. So one of my favorite authors, which seems like, strangely enough, because I was anti-religion for a while, because I thought that religion was hurting more people than helping. But one of my favorite authors in the world is Richard Rohr, who was actually a Franciscan and a Catholic priest. And I never thought that I would have like this man crush on a Catholic priest. But he tells the gospel in a tremendously different story. And I don't know if you know anything about Franciscans, but they're very nature oriented, and one of the things would be is they proclaim that nature is the original Bible. If we go into nature, and commune with nature, we can know God that way and get to know God really that way. So he's one of my favorite authors. But recently, I was digging around and getting ready for this, and I come across this wonderful book by a wonderful winning woman, and it's called "I Win." And
Oh,
oh my gosh,
well,
there's some
really
great little there's some
nice,
great little
nice,
there,
Greg,
there,
nice, Greg.
there's some
No,
great little
no, yeah,
there,
yeah, yeah.
there,
That's my best.
yeah,
Claim
and
to
there
fame.
are some great little
I
truth bombs in there. So
That's my book.
I did
Claim to
I,
fame,
I
and
did take some notes
yeah,
from
you
this
did
book.
take some notes. I see
I
that.
did.
You did
I
take
did
some
take some
notes.
notes, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
the
yeah, yeah. That's my
this
claim to
wonderful
fame.
one is the truth is Aspen is like anywhere else, because human nature isn't bound by area code or zip code. I grew up expecting to hear some nasty jokes and some
Ooh,
face rude stares about the everyday. You know, why they act like that, and don't you, mom would say. They're afraid of the unknown, fear is a disability. I was like, oh my gosh, you speak my language. Fear
Always,
is a
she
disability.
always said that. She always said that. And I find this ironic, you guys. The day that we're recording this interview, it's December 17th, and this house, my house, is getting sold today. So
So
I find that ironic that you read me back a quote that my mom said. It's always the fear of the unknown. It's
yeah,
always and just swinging back to the Florida Recovery School based on and quote, it's always the fear of the unknown. It's always how are we going to help the helpless,
yeah,
so to speak? It's
yeah,
how are we going to help the helpless? And I'm ready. I'm almost ready. I am almost ready, even though um, people don't want me to do it. I am going to take a big giant step here in the next couple months and forgive the person that abused me. She abused me both emotionally and physically abused right after my dad died. And so and she because she lost her sister, thank you very much, my mom, um she became a severe well, she's always been alcoholic, let's face it. But I think she was trying, she is and was trying to mask pain of losing
right,
her
right.
sister, who's her older sister. She happened to be the baby sister. And I am ready to forgive her. I'm now it will have to be done in the room with people. And because of the Florida Recovery School and because of what you guys have taught me and will be beginning this process, now I am ready to um, help where I can with my own sobriety and well, I'm sober. I've been sober for about a year now, and
Nice.
so
Congratulations.
thank you. And so, but I'm ready to help those who can't see the light at the end of the tunnel as far
Yeah,
as sobriety, because being sober is one of those things. You either become sober or you don't.
yeah. Well, and and that pain of unforgiveness, I mean, it ends up drowning us too, right?
Yeah,
And it isn't, for me, it isn't about my abuser. It becomes about me being able to let it go, and and like I'm reading this book again called Drop the Rock, and we can't swim into freedom, carrying all that stuff from the past. We can't. And so the forgiveness for me isn't even about the other person. It's about me being free. If I really want to be
yeah,
free, I have to forgive. And and then the rest of that story is for me. I've done a lot of I've done more than my share of hurt in the world too. So I needed grace as well. And then for me to be able to receive forgiveness, I had to be able to go ahead and forgive other people as well too, because I've hurt a lot of people along the way as well.
yeah. I mean, we all have, but
Yeah,
I am almost ready to forgive um, my abuser. And when my abuser is ready to come out of the woodwork, my first words out of my mouth were all going to be, I'm sorry. I'm sorry
right.
for how I cut you off for about a year because I was so traumatized on what you did to me.
Mhm.
And my second words are gonna be, "How can I help you?"
Yeah, right. And I wrote on the back of my book, because like I said, that of this last book, that
Yeah,
that if our pain doesn't transform us, we'll transmit it, and that's what I think that we do whenever we have unforgiveness is that we end up hurting other people around us too, right? So because we're still in pain and still carrying that pain, so we won't let
Yeah,
anybody close. Yeah. So
yeah, no.
so
Um,
it has to transform us.
and so yeah, it
Yeah.
has to transform somehow. And so if if which my family members may be listening to this, if my family members are listening to this, or um you can get me in contact with my abuser. Um, it's time for my abuser to come out of the woodwork for apology, you guys, because and it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting what she will say to me. Apparently, she has said I did nothing wrong when she physically and emotionally abused me. Apparently, she said I did nothing wrong, and to this day, I'm finding out that abusers will say that
Right.
to
To
when
defend
they,
themselves. Yeah.
to
Yeah.
defend themselves when they
Right.
get their hands caught in a cookie jar. I mean, and people have asked me, well, did she move to the Bahamas because of abuse? And the answer is no. She always lived down there. Um, and so I'm ready to forgive, but I won't forget. I won't forget. I'm just ready to forgive,
Right.
and I have done a lot of healing and a lot of forgiveness to other people around my abuser, and so now it's time to pull out the big guns and forgive my abuser because um my not to say that I don't want my abuser back in my life because I don't, but I feel like it's the only right thing to do is
Right. And
forgive.
just because we forgive somebody doesn't necessarily mean that we're ready for restoration of some sort of relationship either, you know.
Yeah,
So
no,
yeah.
no, and I'm ready to forgive her, but I don't want her back in my life.
Right.
That's that's true. And so, Greg, if your BFF had to write a book about you, what would the title be?
Yeah, and I've thought a lot about that since you asked the question too. I think it would be unlikely character because, you know, if you had seen my diagnoses and my mental health history whenever I was a young person and all the stuff that I you know I had went through and been through and carried that I'm the unlikely character to be able to stand up and have my voice, you know, have some sort of a meaning now. So I think it would be unlikely character.
Yeah, and like character,
Yeah.
and what is your morning routine?
Well, for me, I usually get up early, and depending on if I have to work, because I don't necessarily because I'm a long-term roofing contractor here in Central Florida too. So I spend a lot of my time racing the sun to get on the roof before it got hot and all that. But so if I'm still in that mode, I get up and I'm running out the door early. But if I'm in my usual mode now is I get up and I read something inspirational and I try to write something from it and and that's whenever my days are my best is whenever I feel like you know my creator is working in me and flowing through me and I think that he you know whenever I'm writing poetry is whenever he's using me best I think.
I may we may need to talk offline because I may need you to help me out with when I get down and I may need you to call friends in and help me out because I'm so scared of these roofs now. I know at to mention the house for a couple seconds. I
Right.
know that in my own house, they because of the roofing system here, they wouldn't necessarily give my dad home insurance, and my
All
dad
right. Yeah.
thought that like there was tomorrow. And it's like, okay, really? So now I need all the now I need all the help I can get, because I'll
Right.
be managing my own house. Oh,
Right.
like
Yeah.
it's
I'm pretty
so
connected to a
yeah.
lot of
Well,
handymen
yeah,
and
I
engineers.
know
Yeah.
you got.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know you are. I know you are.
Yeah.
I'm finding more and more people down in Florida that know me or know my story. And so I'll give you guys jobs once I get my go date. I'll give
Yeah.
you guys jobs to help me out. I'm like, I need all my friends and all my family to help
Yeah.
me out with this move, but it's going to be a good move. So, Greg, um, if you had to move and only take 5 things with you, and yes, your family could come, and if you only had to take 5 things with you, what would they be?
What would they be? That would be my family. It would be my family, of course, and my dog. I, I have a dog, a golden retriever that is like my best buddy, walking buddy in the world. I would have to have some way to be able to write, because I mean, whether it be my phone or a notebook, I just hate losing those thoughts, and so I think once, and I don't know how it is for you, but once a thought escapes me, I'm like, oh, that was so good earlier. What was it? So I need something to jot, to jot those moments down that I feel inspired. And so that would be two, right? Two, my dog, well, my family, my dog, something to write on, and something inspirational. I mean, that would be the hard thing. Because I think that God works through all of us, and right now, I know that I from reading your story, I know that you've done a lot of different yoga. I was like anti yoga, anti some of that other stuff before, but my my obsession for last month was Yogananda Paramahansa and the autobiography of a yogi, and I've been reading a lot of his stuff, and so it would be something that could help me, get into the flow more. Something, I, yeah. That's too short of a list for me, I guess.
No.
I'd be throwing like 20 books into a bag and saying, I'm gonna sneak these books
Yeah,
along.
you're gonna be throwing money into a bag and
Yeah,
taking your family and then
yeah.
figure it out along the way. And as we wrap this interview up, you, where can people find you, and where can people listen to your podcast?
My
The um, interviews or the solo episodes that are already up. And then, do you have any questions for me?
right now you can find me mostly on Facebook. My podcast isn't active again right now. I haven't done anything with it, but I've done a lot of short YouTube poems on YouTube, and that's like, I want it to be a poetry podcast, and I maybe you can help me get my act together on that. But uh, gregwooley.com. There's a lot of poetry posted on there. Greg Wooley Poetry on Facebook, or just friend me on Facebook is where I'm most
Yeah.
easily found. And then what inspires you? I mean, I know we talked a lot. What inspires
Well,
you?
we talked a lot in the
Yeah,
hallway,
right.
and my goodness, and the reason why I'm trying to get my butt down there at the beginning of June, you guys, is because I know I'm going back to podcast movement. So my plan is to get my butt down there and then acclimate myself, then go straight into podcast movement work and work
Right.
that for a couple of days, and then go get myself even more acclimated because I need to. I'm transferring my whole life down there. So that's why I'm ultimately planning to leave here in June. And hopefully that will work out in my favor. If not, I'll fly down, do podcast, move, and fly back up, and then start packing and leaving and go be down there in August. But hopefully, my ultimate move is to be secured down there in May, and so we'll see what happens.
Right. And
And
I really thought, because that was my first experience with the Podfest community, and I thought that was just an awesome, wonderful community.
yeah, it is, you guys.
Yeah.
And so, what motivates me is right now, what motivates me is school, and believe it or not, school motivates me. And then the other thing that motivates me is getting another diagnosis, whatever that other diagnosis will be. We ruled yesterday. Yesterday we ruled out blood test. The blood test came back normal, so I am 99% sure I have asthma, and that's gonna be a wonky diagnosis because they misdi. If I do have asthma, number one, they misdiagnosed me, and number two, so I'm really, really motivated at this point to find a diagnosis of my own health, and I'm really, really motivated by the podcasting community.
And do you have any other communities that you're a part of that you feel very passionate about?
Well, always, my heart will be always with people with disabilities. I mean, that is my number one.
Right.
That will always be my number one. That will always be my number one. And that will always be my number one, whether it's alcoholism, whether it's um, mental health issues, physical health issues, whether it's um, a neurological disability, whether it's just blindness, deafness, list goes on and on and on. But
Right.
number one, my community is the disabled, and people know that by now. And if
Right.
they don't,
And
they
what
need
you
to
know
go fight
whenever I
on
was
the
going
block.
through your book, I was like, one of the things that I would love to be a part of is more of breaking the stigma, instead of calling it disabled, to have it be differently abled, or
Yeah,
however you want to,
yeah,
because
breaking the
we all have our abilities that we come with. Yeah.
breaking the stigma big time, breaking the
Yeah.
stigma big time, and that's what I'm trying to do, and that's what I'm ultimately trying to do, and ultimately I want to
Because
break the
I think that happens. That happens with people in recovery too. Is because if I tell somebody, "Hey, I'm a recovering alcoholic," they go, "Oh, you poor bastard, you can't drink," and that's not the case. It's given me freedom beyond even wanting to drink, and beyond, it's given me a gateway to help other people. It's given me friends in a community worldwide. Because if you connect with recovering people, there's a community worldwide too. And it isn't like, oh, you poor thing, you can't, so it's kind of like a stigma, that around all that too. Is
yeah, and people have said to me, "Man, you gave up wine because of your recover because of your cerebral palsy." I'm like, yes, I did. Cerebral palsy and wine don't go together.
right.
And so, and nor to, I just found out the other day one of my new diagnoses is reflux disease, which I've always had. And then when
Right.
I looked at the general sheet, they go, "Don't drink alcohol," and I was
Right.
like, "Okay, that is why alcohol made me so sick because of the reflux. And
Right.
I'm like, okay, that answers that. And luckily I've already given it up. So that's not a big deal there. And so it's like when you get into the recovery community, you'll find that people have a similar um, passion to you, but they just don't want to tell it because they're afraid to tell
Right. To be
you
cast
or
out.
someone else that they're sober.
Right. Because once you're around that a while, you'll hear said that it's not really a drinking problem, it's a thinking problem now. And and that I think the whole world suffers from hopelessness, and that's what we've overcome a hopeless state of mind.
Yeah,
And
and to mention the pandemic really quickly, uh, alcoholism has gone up, which
right. And
scares
addiction,
me.
right, for sure, because
Addiction
right.
and alcoholism has gone up. That scares the living daylights out of me
Right.
because I'm like, okay, we're trying to make this world more sober,
Yeah.
and then we have a pandemic on
Yeah.
top of it.
Isolating us, putting us alone all the
Yeah,
time. Yeah, sure,
it's
sure.
like, yeah, well, that scares the living daylights out of me. No, it just literally scares the living daylights out of me, and it just really, really, really scares me. And it's almost the end of 2020, you guys, as we record this. And so let's make 2021 the best year
Yeah,
yet,
the best
and
year
more
yet.
of more of Greg's information in the show notes.
Can I share a poem with
Yeah,
you before we part
yeah,
ways?
go.
Okay, I call
Just
this one
call it.
Welcome to the Family. Welcome to the family. We are a family of brokenness, though we no longer mourn. Through defeat and surrender, we're renewed and reborn. Grace is a gift, forgiveness the key, acceptance the path to setting us free. Gone is our pride, with a shall and the should. The Creator makes all things, so they work for our good. All of us broken, there's none without scar, yet God He still whispers, come as you are. Come in your poorness, and come when you mourn. Bring your broken pieces, and be renewed and reborn. In the family of brokenness, no one's more, and no one is less. Hope's message can be made from the most messed up of mess. If you're still mourning, be glad and rejoice. God gave you a conscience, and it still has a voice. Be adopted into the family of brokenness, where we no longer mourn through defeat and surrender, and through grace, we're renewed and reborn. And I just thought that was really, really,
Well, good.
yeah,
I unfortunately didn't. I met so many people through podcast movement, and I unfortunately didn't get to talk to you long enough to understand that you are a poet, and gee, beast, you are. And so I didn't get to talk to a lot of people because we were dealing with the conference slash a pandemic
yeah,
slash trying to not get locked in airports and
sure,
trying to get back. Um, and it's like, okay, it's
yeah,
gonna be easier. It's gonna be easier for me if I just transplant myself down here, and it's gonna be easier because I've already established a network. So I kind of secretly decided that okay, I'm going to be a journalist down in Florida because without that journalism network and without that aspect of a network and all the work I'm doing is down on Zoom right now and open conference. I'm like, okay, I can't be landlocked. I
yeah,
need good medical care. I need my family. Family is number one. Even though they are interesting family dynamics. But as I said, through my work with the Florida Recovery School and through my work with you guys in the podcasting community and through my work in the past year, I've learned that alcoholism isn't a stigma. Alcoholism is a thing, and the more and more we forgive the alcoholics, the better off we will be. And
Yeah.
so I appreciate you guys listening. I hope you guys enjoyed Greg's story, and I hope that you guys got a lot out of this. I know we went all over the map, but that's the point. And I hope that you will follow Greg and support the independent poets and the independent content creators. And as I said, you can friend me, friend Greg on Facebook, and we'll be happy to help. Especially, you guys can DM us if
Yeah.
you don't want to mention it
Absolutely.
publicly. But if you need help, sobriety wise, you guys can DM us and find us, and we'll make it work, you guys. And I will catch you guys later, and I hope you guys enjoyed. And this is a fabulous episode of Ask Win. Thanks to you guys. Bye, you
I
guys.
so appreciate you, Win.